Hi guys, John Stockley from CVM Cymru here again. Shwmai, croeso i'r pod CVM Cymru. Welcome back to the CVM Cymru podcast. So this is the second episode in our reboot, and I think this time what I really like to do is just share a quote with you that I've been thinking about recently. It's kind of actually impacted me quite a bit. So I'll share that with you in a bit. But as ever, this week I've been on the road around Wales, led Cymru, and just experiencing loads of incredible stuff, good stuff happening around the country. So on Monday night, Al and myself, Al Weller from CVM headquarters, went down to Swansea for the CVM Swansea boys annual curry night. It was great just to see over 100 guys booked onto that event on Monday night. The entire Rose Indian curry house on St Helens Road was just packed out with men, and it was just a great example of what happens when you invite your mate to come to an event and they get to hear about Jesus. We then hot-footed it over to Maedrum and Shigar in Carmarthenshire to meet up with Tez and Hannah at Go Wild Adventures. While we're there, we were doing a bit of prayer, planning, dreaming, scheming for Stronger Cryfach in 2026. And that was really special. They've got a cross that they've set up on one of on their small holding, and it just looks over the valley, and we got to pray around it for what is going to be an incredibly special Stronger Cryfach event in 2026. So some really exciting stuff coming up across Cymru. Just want to say, make sure you're connected with us across our various channels: Facebook, Insta, YouTube, email, etc. And that way you're not going to miss any of the updates that we're sending out across those channels. Really excited about the year ahead. CVM Cymru is going to be stepping up and pushing out. We just want to reach as many men as we possibly can across this great nation of Wales. So I read a quote recently, and it goes something like this. The gospel is our thing. It's very, very old, but it has lost none of its power. In many ways, the gospel doesn't need restoring. It stands in history, written into reality in eternally permanent ink. The events of the gospel are unshakably final. Christ crucified, Christ risen, Christ coming again. I don't know about you, but I love that. I love that quote. I love it because we live in a world that is obsessed with the new. We're always after new phones, new diets, new ideas about life, about identity, spirituality even. You name it, we're after it. And it's got to be new. Yet, God's good news, newyddion da, the gospel, this ancient story, keeps cutting through all of that noise. Ydy, mae'n hen, yes, it's old, ond mae'n dduw, but it's alive. 2,000 years on, more than 2,000 years on, blokes are still being changed by it, still finding freedom, still finding forgiveness, still finding new purpose. It's not bad, is it, when you think about it? It's like a message, a life, the gospel that was started by a simple carpenter from Nazareth in Israel. But we know, don't we? He was never a simple carpenter, Jesus Christ, Son of God. But even having said all of that, still, I just still get the impression that we feel like we need to justify the gospel, or constantly need to justify it. Sometimes we think our job is to fix the message. I guess make it trendier or more relevant in some way. Make it sound less awkward, less clunky. Or we think we need to make it fit in a bit better with the world around us. Yeah. But maybe, just maybe, the gospel doesn't need us to big it up. Maybe it just needs us to live it out consistently, honestly, and with just that bit of conviction. And if I'm being honest with you, we are never restoring God's good news, newyddion da, anyway. God's good news, the gospel, well, I think that's always restoring us. Just think about it for a second, really, I guess. Many of us love restoring old stuff, don't we? There's something, I guess, beautiful about bringing something that is old, useless, battered, and bringing it back to life. But the gospel, God's good news, newyddion da do, well, that's one thing that has never lost any of its power, any of its shine, if you like. It is properly useful, and it's properly relevant. I actually think what needs restoring is us. Our hearts, our focus, our courage. We need our faces turned back to Jesus. The gospel isn't a, fad or an overnight vibe or an opinion. Actually, the gospel is history. It's absolutely history. Jesus Christ was crucified. That was an actual event. He rose from the dead. An actual fact that actually splits history in two, before Christ, after Christ. And he is coming again. That's not a maybe, that's a certainty. You can't cancel that. You can't edit it. You can't change it. You can't delete it. The cross stands forever. The tomb is still empty. As empty today as it ever has been. It's the ultimate done deal, if you like. Christ crucified. Christ risen. Christ coming again. That's not just a nice idea. It's a rescue mission. A real rescue mission. It's finished and it's final. There's a verse in the Bible book called Romans. It's in chapter 1 and it says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it's the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes. So I guess I got a question really on the back of that one. What does that actually mean for us? Men of Wales, Dynion Cymru, right here, right now. Let's be honest for a moment, I guess. We're facing stuff every day. Stress, temptation, pressure, boredom, guilt, comparison, you name it, we suffer with it. And the world keeps throwing at us quick fixes. Buy a new car, upgrade your home, go on a fantastic holiday, try this, try that. Reinvent yourself. Even as men, reinvent yourself. Just have a new image. Go out and buy some new clothes and get a different haircut, whatever. But the gospel says we don't actually need reinventing. We actually need rescuing. And that rescue is not about us pretending to be stronger. It's about admitting that we really are not that strong and letting Jesus carry that weight. If God's good news, newyddion da do, is really written in eternal ink, if it really is forever, then for me that means our mistakes, our insecurities, all that stuff, they're not the final word. Our past doesn't define us. Our worth is not actually measured by our success or even by our failure. It's already been written that we are forgiven, that we are loved, and that we are free. And that's massive. Because if we really get that, it changes everything. It changes how we do marriage, changes how we parent, how we work, how we deal with anger, how we face temptation, all of it. Men rooted in the gospel are men who stand firm and secure, not because we're tough, not because we've got all the answers, but because we're held and we're supported by Jesus Christ. So maybe this week, instead of thinking, I've really got to do better, maybe we just say, I'm going to trust Jesus more. I'm going to trust Jesus better. Because when Jesus said, it is finished, he really meant it is finished. Okay, so I guess like pulling all of this in together, here's a challenge for the week ahead. Find a moment, just one moment where you can stop and say, Christ crucified, Christ risen, Christ coming again. And say it out loud if you can. Let it really hit you. Let it really impact you. Because this is not just a theory. This is where life really starts. And maybe you're listening to this today and you've drifted a bit, I guess. You're just not where you once were. Maybe you still believe, but it's all got a little bit unclear, foggy, you know. Guys, I just want to say I've been there so many times myself. And that's okay. It really is okay. Remember, you don't have to restore the gospel. You just need to let the gospel restore you. Be open to it. And if that's not you, if you've never really trusted Jesus, you haven't known if, I guess, what he says is really true, maybe today's the day when you stop running away from the gospel and you say to Jesus, all right, Lord, I'm in. I'm going to give this a go. Or at least say I'm willing to give it a go. Simple as that. No magic words, no clever words, no chants or whatever, just pure honesty. This is where I am, and I'm going to be giving it a go. I want life, and I want the life that Jesus offers. And let me just remind you of that quote. The gospel is our thing. It's very, very old, but it has lost none of its power. In many ways, the gospel doesn't need restoring. It stands in history, written into reality in eternally permanent ink. The events of the gospel are unshakably final. Christ crucified, Christ risen, Christ coming again. Diolch yn fawr iawn am gwrando neu gwylio'r podlediad CVM Cymru. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode really of CVM Cymru's podcast. Make sure you follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. Subscribe on YouTube and share this with a mate who might need to hear about the gospel, God's good news, newyddion da Duw today. Next week we're going to be diving into an interview with a guy from a Bont Vine, Cowbridge, called Chris Bullock. Chris is the pastor of a church in Cowbridge called The Beacon, and in my interview with him we talk about the concept of shaking hands with the devil. It's a fantastic interview, if not just a bit challenging. So that's going to be something special to look forward to. So make sure you are subscribed or following so you get that. That's going to be in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, stay rooted, stay real, and remember, Christ crucified, Christ risen, Christ coming again. Tan hynny, arhoswch wedi I reiddio, arhoswch yn real, a cofiwch croeshoeliwyd Christ, at gyfododd Christ, Christ yn dod eto. See you next time.